Everyone wants to feel like they're the best at something, but when that belief turns into taking others for granted, the universe might just teach you a lesson. Understanding that there's always someone better out there is the key to humility. That's what truly makes the strongest person. My name is Mia. I've been married to my husband Thomas for 2 years. When we decided to get married, Thomas mentioned his troublesome sister who might end up being a burden to me. As an only child, I was thrilled at the idea of having a sister, but Thomas's words also made me anxious and curious about what kind of trouble she could be. Now, 2 years into our marriage, I fully understand and have experienced what Thomas meant. I was born into a relatively wealthy family. My father runs a mid-sized trading company and is well-informed and progressive in his thinking. My parents always respected my decisions, providing an environment where I could freely experience and explore my interests. In 2008, during the Lehman Brothers collapse, I was an 11-year-old elementary school student. Intrigued by the significant impact this event had on the world, I became fascinated by how a disruption in the flow of funds could cause such a global panic. This sparked my interest in financial circulation. Recognizing my curiosity and intelligence, my parents had me take an IQ test, and the results were beyond the normal range. Throughout middle and high school, I continued to research finance. In college, I chose a major that allowed me to deepen my understanding. As I learned more, I became eager to apply my knowledge and decided to try day trading. My professor suggested it as a way to experience capital flow firsthand, but warned about careful management to avoid debt. I researched extensively, identifying statistically favorable stocks for day trading. Starting with a modest sum of all the allowance I had saved up, I engaged in buying and selling the same stock within the same day, or starting with the sale and then buying it back before the day ended. This meant results came quickly. My predictions were spot on, and though the increases were modest, my funds grew steadily through this process and gradually increasing my investments. I managed to grow the initial amount by more than 50 times in a year. While the original sum was modest, I wasn't certain how impressive this achievement was on a larger scale. However, that wasn't my primary concern. What mattered most to me was whether the answers I had derived through research were correct. During the university seminar, I met Thomas, a student known for his analytical skills. We often found ourselves in agreement on many topics, which fostered a close bond between us. Following graduation, I had planned to join my father's company, but Thomas pointed out an opportunity at a foreign investment firm on our graduation day. At the subsequent celebration, Thomas confessed his feelings for me, and I immediately accepted. His intelligence was comforting, and his understanding nature put me at ease. As we embarked on our respective career paths, our relationship strengthened. Inspired by the concept of trade at my father's company, I researched foreign companies to gain negotiation advantages and establish a solid foundation for our deals. Meanwhile, Thomas used his analytical prowess to identify profitable investment opportunities, earning high praise within his firm. Despite our busy schedules, we prioritized dates, refreshing each other before diving back into work. Over 5 years, our careers blossomed and our relationship deepened. We became each other's support system, indispensable in our lives. It felt like the perfect time to take the next step forward. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Mia. Will you marry me? Thomas's proposal was met with an immediate and wholehearted acceptance from me. I couldn't wait to begin our life together. During the family meeting, Thomas hesitated before sharing something important. There's something about my sister Alice that you should know. He started cautiously. She's a bit difficult and might cause you some discomfort or inconvenience. Alice, Thomas's younger sister by 2 years, was known to be challenging. From a young age, she had been exceptionally bright, even more so than Thomas, who himself was considered a prodigy. This dynamic made them a notably remarkable pair in their neighborhood. As Alice grew older, her intelligence sometimes translated into a sense of superiority, viewing others as foolish and often looking down even on Thomas. This competitive spirit led her to enroll in a different but equally prestigious university, always boasting that hers was superior to Thomas's choice. In her career, she joined a rival investment and consulting firm, claiming mastery in investment strategies. However, Alice's attitude of superiority left her without close friends and seemingly without a significant other, harboring insecurities behind a brave facade. She believed no man was good enough for her, always striving to prove herself stronger than anyone else. Thomas worried that our engagement might bruise Alice's pride further, knowing her constant need to compete with him. He feared how she might react and was concerned about her attempt to assert dominance. I tried to reassure Thomas with a light-hearted "it's okay," but his worries seemed unending, leaving me even more curious about his intense sister. I finally met the infamous Alice at a family meeting. Her sharp, intelligent beauty was unmistakable, though she exuded a cold demeanor. I wasn't sure if that was just her nature or my own preconceived notions. Thomas's parents were kind and humorous, which put me at ease about getting along with them. Apart from the initial greeting, Alice remained silent, simply eating her meal while watching me as if assessing me. After the meeting, as everyone was leaving, Alice pulled me aside. "I wondered what kind of person you would be, but you're nothing special, are you?" she remarked coolly. "Just a girl who got a job at her parents' company and is probably slacking off." Stunned, I didn't know how to respond. She continued, "I move large amounts of money and make significant profits. I'm on a completely different level than you. Thomas, settling for someone like you is disappointing. Today's lesson is realizing how much you don't measure up to my standard." With that, Alice left the room, leaving me standing there. When Thomas returned and noticed I hadn't left with Alice, he looked concerned and asked if something had happened. I brushed it off with a laugh, saying it was just a minor jab. He apologized for Alice's rudeness, but I assured him it didn't bother me, though I wondered what would happen the next time we met. Strangely, I found myself looking forward to the wedding. "That'll be interesting," I remarked to Thomas, surprising him. Our wedding was a grand affair, attended by family, friends, and colleagues from both sides. Thomas and I declared our eternal love and enjoyed a wonderful time with our guests. Throughout the event, Alice appeared grumpy and irritated from the start. I had heard from Thomas that Alice had neither friends nor a romantic partner, so I could somewhat understand her feelings, which I found slightly amusing. During a break for a wardrobe change, as I waited for the staff to assist me with my wardrobe change, Alice entered without warning. "This happiness of yours is only for today," she remarked coldly. "A plain woman like you won't get the spotlight. After this, you're just going to leech off Thomas' earnings, aren't you? I can't understand how anyone could be satisfied with that. On the other hand, I've climbed up on my own. I'm on a completely different level. I'll find someone even better than Thomas and have an even grander wedding." With that rapid-fire monologue, a self-satisfied Alice left without giving me a chance to respond. The staff walked in just as Alice departed, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter at the timing. I quickly apologized to the puzzled staff and began changing. Alice certainly knew how to keep things interesting. Despite our busy weekdays focused on work, Thomas and I cherished our weekends, making the most of our time together. Since the wedding, I had no contact with Alice. I anticipated seeing her next at Christmas when visiting my in-laws, but an unexpected connection with Alice arose sooner. My father sought external consulting for asset preservation and expansion at his company, and although I offered to handle it, he opted for outside expertise from a specific firm. When I heard the firm's name, it struck a familiar chord, but I couldn't quite place it. At the first meeting with the consulting firm, I was taken aback to see Alice among the representatives. The familiarity dawned on me. This was Alice's firm. Alice seemed equally surprised to see me but quickly composed herself and greeted me professionally. It silently became our agreement to act as if we were meeting for the first time, keeping our sister-in-law relationship a secret from the other team members. When I told Thomas about the encounter at home, he surprised me by saying Alice had already called him. "This is ridiculous. I can't work with her, she was just complaining," he said, suggesting I might want to step away from the project. I found the situation amusing and laughed it off, but I knew I had to remain professional. During the meeting, I pointed out flaws and inadequacies in their proposals, backing my arguments with perfect logic. My counter-arguments unsettled them. Alice tried to fight back with past examples and mathematical evidence, but I skillfully exposed their weak points, leaving them silenced. The meeting ended in my favor, with the other team agreeing to prepare a second proposal for the next meeting. As I relaxed with coffee after they left, I received a phone call meant for me. It was Alice. "Today, you might have gotten the better of me, but I won't let it end like this," she declared. "Someone as excellent as me can't be bested by you. You're just running wild, carrying everything on your own, Mia." Amused, I replied calmly, "Alice, you need to rely on your colleagues and work together to make progress." "What gives you the right to lecture me?" she snapped. "I don't need guidance from someone like you." With that parting shot, she hung up. I burst out laughing, still holding the phone, drawing curious glances from nearby colleagues. From then on, I took full control of the meetings. Their teams scrambled to respond to my points, often finding themselves in a defensive position. Alice tried desperately for a comeback, but always fell short. Her frustration was plainly visible, though she managed to maintain her composure. Reflecting on this with Thomas later, he mentioned, "Alice has never been outdone by anyone before. Plus, Mom told me Alice found out that a guy she liked already had a girlfriend and got rejected before even confessing. That's probably adding to her irritation." I couldn't help but let out a surprised "huh" and stifle my laughter as the consulting project finally concluded successfully. The opposing team leader thanked us, expressing how much they had learned, and we all dispersed. As everyone left, Alice and I ended up alone. "I'm not satisfied with how things went. I'll make sure to get the better of you next time," Alice declared, her tone sharp. "Just so you know, I'm more excellent. I even bought a tower mansion at my age. Only someone as outstanding as me could afford a brand new tower mansion." Alice had made waves as an investor and had managed to earn enough for such a purchase. "We'll toast among the elites," looking down on the commoners below. "You, as one of those ordinary people, should just look up and despair," she added, leaving after her piece as usual. Thomas confirmed that Alice's claims were true. She had indeed found success as an investor and recently purchased a tower mansion to live in on her own. Alice was undeniably talented, and such an achievement was well within her reach. While luck played a part, I genuinely wanted to congratulate her. A few days later, during the weekend, I had business at a tower mansion. As I stopped at a mid-level floor, a door opened, and to my surprise, the resident stepping out was Alice. We locked eyes and both exclaimed in surprise. "Why are you here? If you're not invited to the party, did you come to clean?" I blurted out. Alice chuckled. "It seems today is the day of my celebrity home party, but no, not at all. I'm here to deliver something to an acquaintance on this floor." "You have an acquaintance here? And you came down from where?" I asked, puzzled. "My home is on the top floor of this mansion. Naturally, I had to come down," Alice explained matter-of-factly. "But you and Thomas live in a single-story house, don't you? How can you have a home here?" I countered, bewildered. "Thomas can't handle heights. That's why our house is single-story," Alice replied calmly. "This place is my office and workshop." "Your workshop is on the top floor of a tower mansion. Don't joke like that," I said incredulously. "This whole place is mine," Alice stated firmly. "Why shouldn't I use the top floor?" As we argued loudly in the hallway, a voice behind us interrupted. "Alice, what's going on?" Alice turned and apologized. "Sorry, Senior." The woman who had spoken and 3 others looked at us with concern. "I apologize for not greeting you downstairs. I was just dealing with..." Alice seemed momentarily at a loss for words. The woman Alice called Senior looked at me, searching her memory, and then exclaimed in surprise, "Aren't you Mrs. Mia, our new external board director starting this month?" Alice was speechless at this unexpected revelation. The senior continued, "She's also known as the investment goddess whom Alice admires." Clearly bewildered, Alice struggled to comprehend what was being said. I had started day trading as a student, gradually progressing to more serious investing. Using my day trading earnings, I learned investment strategies through practice. My analytical and research skills helped me identify companies with growth potential, and I invested wisely. The funds I managed grew rapidly. My father provided me with the freedom to use a piece of land he owned in the city center, where I began building a tower mansion, following the trend of mansion investments. I wanted to understand what it was all about, so this tower mansion is the result of my efforts. Managing a mansion is more challenging than it seems. Income comes from rent, but maintenance costs and taxes are higher than expected. Furthermore, even a few delayed rent payments from tenants can disrupt smooth management. Regarding being called the investment goddess, that seems to be a recent label for me, coined due to my extraordinary success in investments. Hearing that Alice admired me was a surprise. Alice was too stunned to keep up with the unfolding situation. "That's why my room is on the top floor here," I explained. "I own a significant share of your company, which made me a board director." Alice was overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events. Moreover, Alice, while extremely talented, has a poor reputation regarding teamwork and attitude towards colleagues. If she can improve, she can continue in her current role. Alice was already reeling from this harsh reality, kneeling and collapsing on the floor. Later, Thomas told me that Alice, once a fierce wolf, had become a small dog. It seemed she finally understood that there's always someone above her. I had never really paid much attention to Alice's antics, knowing we were on different levels. But looking back, I do feel a bit guilty for finding it all so amusing. Reflecting on my previous attitude, I realize I still have a lot to learn. Alice, having stepped back from the limelight, now faces reduced income and a string of losses in investments. Her ability to pay rent for the Tower Mansion apartment is increasingly compromised. I'm considering issuing an eviction notice if the rent arrears continue for another 2 months. People's abilities vary, and even similar skills can differ in levels. Alice has become a lesson for me to never underestimate anyone and to treat others with respect. Thomas apologized for not being more involved in these events, but it's not his responsibility at all. His concern shows his good nature, and I love him all the more for it. My current hope is to start a family with Thomas soon. I can't wait to enjoy life as a family of 3. If Alice changes her mindset and broadens her perspective, she'll surely find friends and a partner soon. One night, I had a dream of a family of 3, but by the end of next year, we'd be a family of 5 with triplets. I woke up sweating but couldn't help laughing at the prospect.
That's why I asked you to pay back the money you owe. My husband suddenly left me with a big debt and vanished. I tried to reach him, but he didn't respond. What should I do now? I can't afford to pay off such a huge debt on my own. Thankfully, my daughter was there to support me when I felt lost. "Mom, don't worry," she said. "I'm Kate, 35 years old, working part-time and taking care of the house. My husband's name is Rogan, and we have a daughter." Rogan and I met at a social event where I was feeling nervous, but he approached me and made me feel comfortable. We hit it off and exchanged contact details. As we kept talking, I started feeling something special for Rogan. Soon enough, we began dating. Who would have guessed I'd end up dating someone I met at a mixer? After our first date, I told my older sister Talia about Rogan. She burst into laughter, saying, "Really? I never imagined you'd find a boyfriend at a mixer. I thought you'd date someone from work or something." I've always been shy and not great at socializing. Even as an adult, I rarely went to parties. It's quite a surprise, isn't it? You only went to help out, right? Exactly. When I showed Talia a photo from our date, she said, "He's surprisingly good looking." After catching up, we said goodbye for the day. Talia is still single and seems content with it, not really interested in getting married or having a boyfriend. While I respect her choice, I'm excited about my future with Rogan. If things go well and we get married and have kids, that would be wonderful. On my way home, I couldn't help but smile. A few years later, Rogan and I got married. I remember his proposal so clearly. It was such an emotional moment. I couldn't stop crying tears of joy. Moving into our new apartment marked the beginning of our life together as a married couple. We used to live apart, so being with Rogan every day felt like a dream come true. Even though our work schedules were different, we made sure to have dinner together, sleep side by side, and cherish every moment. On our days off, we'd relax at home or go for drives, enjoying each other's company. The arrival of our daughter, Rhea, brought even more joy into our lives. She was so tiny and adorable. Her birth was an incredibly emotional experience that I'll never forget. Since Rita was born, I felt like I found true happiness. Our parents and relatives were thrilled too, sending us lots of gifts to celebrate. Just before Rhea was born, I quit my job to focus on taking care of my family. Rogan has always been supportive, helping with household chores and taking care of Rhea, even when he's tired. He'd often say, "I'll look after Rhea so you can rest." I'm grateful to have married such a wonderful person like him. Living with Rogan, who loves and cares for us so deeply, has been incredibly heartwarming. However, a few years down the line, I found myself regretting marrying Rogan deeply. Several years after Rhea was born, Rogan surprised me by resigning from his job. He explained that he had been struggling with a new boss, which had taken a toll on his mental health, leading him to quit. While I understood his reasons, I couldn't shake off the feeling of frustration. Why hadn't he discussed this with me beforehand? Our family relied on his income, so such a significant decision should have been made together. That was unexpected. Have you thought about what's next? I asked. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. He replied vaguely. His response didn't ease my concerns, but I had no choice but to trust him. Luckily, Rogan found a new job relatively quickly. That's a relief. I thought about working too, but with Raya still young, I want to be there for her, I explained. Is everything going well at the new job? I asked. Yeah, it's fine, he replied curtly. I sensed something was off, but I didn't want to push in further. So I handed Rhea to him and went to take a bath. A few days later, Rogan returned home looking downcast. As I tried to inquire about what had happened, memories of his previous abrupt resignation flooded my mind. Could it be that he had quit again so soon? Sadly, my suspicions were confirmed. I quit my job, he admitted. Why? I asked. I just couldn't get along with my coworkers, especially being bossed around by someone much younger, he explained. I understand, but we'll get through this. We'll find another job, and I'll support you however I can. I reassured him. Suddenly, Rogan's demeanor changed, and he lashed out at me. Why do you look so displeased? You only eat because I work. You just stay at home and act all superior, he snapped, tossing his bag onto the table. Confused by his outburst, I asked, "What's wrong?" "Just shut up," he retorted angrily, grabbing a whiskey from the fridge and downing it in one go. I was taken aback by his behavior. I'd never seen him this upset before. I tried to calm him down, but he continued to vent his frustrations, eventually slumping onto the sofa in a sullen mood. I was shocked and hurt by his words, and our relationship suffered as a result. Since then, Rogan has been stuck in a cycle of finding and quitting jobs. We went through uncertain times and faced many anxious days. Rogan, can't you take your job more seriously? I tried to be understanding initially, but with everything going on, I couldn't stay silent any longer. You're being unreasonable. If you're unhappy, then you should work and earn money. You rely on me too much. But what about Raya? What about her? Lately, Rogan seemed to be losing interest in Rhea and avoiding her. When Raya was born, he was so attentive and happy, but now he was like a different person. No matter how much I pleaded, he showed no interest in finding work. Eventually, I had to leave Rhea with Talia and start working myself. I'm sorry to burden you with this, I told Talia. It's okay. Rhea and I will be fine, she reassured me. Rhea had just started kindergarten, so leaving her with Talia wasn't too concerning. I trusted Talia to take care of her, and Rhea was surprisingly mature and calm for her age. She enjoyed reading newspapers and could write long sentences. Rhea was quiet and composed, and I worried if she would make friends at kindergarten. But she surprised me by making many friends and enjoying her time there. It was heartwarming to see as a parent. With Raya settled in kindergarten and Talia looking after her, I felt confident about working outside the home. When I started job hunting, I was surprised to land one quicker than expected. So I began working full-time, and the pay was better than I had hoped for. Even if Rogan didn't have a job, our finances would likely be stable. Luckily, the work environment was pleasant, and despite the busy days, I enjoyed it. After a few years, Rogan finally found a stable job too. It seemed like he had found a workplace that suited him. I felt a huge sense of relief knowing this. Over time, Rogan's mood improved, and he started to resemble the man I married. He became more considerate of my work-life balance, asking if I was tired or if work was tough. I was surprised by his change. Maybe having a stable job gave him peace of mind. Rhea was growing up well, and Rogan became a caring father to her again. Seeing them play together always made me happy, but the thought of quitting my job and returning to the old ways made me anxious. So I continued to rely on Talia for childcare. How's Rhea? Is she doing okay? Don't worry, she's happily playing, Talia reassured me. As long as Rhea was happy, I felt at ease. I still depended on Talia and had been thinking of treating her to something special to show my gratitude. Several years passed, and Ria was now in the 3rd grade. She went to school every day with excitement. Our family remained close-knit and loving, just like before. I pondered over what had caused the previous strain between Rogan and me. Our home life now felt stable, as if past issues had been resolved. Then one day, Rogan suggested something unexpected. "Have you thought about getting a new car?" he asked. "A new car?" I replied, surprised. "Yes, our current one is reliable, but it's getting old. If it's becoming too costly to maintain," I agreed, realizing our car had been with us for a long time and repair expenses were mounting. "You might be right. Maybe it's time for a new one." I thought you'd agree. "I've already gathered some catalogs," he said. I didn't expect him to be so enthusiastic about it, but we began looking through the catalogs together. "Ria, come here. Which car do you want to ride in? Let's choose together." Rogan called out to our daughter. The 3 of us enjoyed picking out a car together. Little did I know, this day would lead to unexpected events. A few months later, the new car arrived. It was a brand new model, costing over $155,000, and the loan was in my name. Normally, Rogan's name would be on such a loan, but given his job history, we feared rejection. I resolved to work even harder to pay off the loan, and I believed Rogan felt the same way. That's what I thought. But my hopes were crushed in an instant. Rogan stopped coming home, disappearing with the new car we had just bought. Did he get into some kind of trouble? What should I do? Just then, my phone rang. It was Rogan. "Rogan, where are you? What's going on?" I couldn't hide my concern. "Relax," he said. "You vanished out of nowhere, and the car is gone. Are you in trouble?" I tried to explain how worried I had been, but Rogan laughed and dropped a bombshell. "I found someone else. She's more important to me than you." "What? What are you saying?" "I've fallen in love with someone else. I've already started the divorce process. Please don't interfere." "Divorce? I can't believe this." I was stunned by the mention of divorce, but then I remembered a heated argument we had before. Filing for divorce meant we both agreed to end our marriage. I regretted letting my emotions get the best of me then. "Oh, and I have a debt. You'll have to repay it," Rogan added casually. "What? How much?" "Around $200,000. You'll handle the payments." With that, he hung up abruptly. I never imagined something like this could happen to me. Were all of his kind gestures just a facade? As these thoughts flooded my mind, I felt my strength drain away. "Mom, what's wrong?" Raya asked, rushing to my side with concern as I sank to the floor. "It's okay, sweetheart." "Thank you." I reassured her, trying to maintain a brave front even as anxiety gnawed at me. How would I manage with such a huge debt hanging over us? The thought of $200,000 weighed heavily on my mind. And then there was the car loan to worry about too. In a panic, I checked my bank balance, searching every nook and cranny for my ATM card, but it was nowhere to be found. Frantically, I checked my bank app on my phone and was horrified to see a significant decrease in my account balance, with no memory of making such withdrawals. Rogan was the only one who could have done this. I tried to reach him, but there was no response. It felt like my world was falling apart. With a blank mind, I resolved to focus on earning money. I decided to keep this burden a secret from Talia and Ria to spare them unnecessary worry. Weeks later, I collapsed at work due to extreme stress and woke up in a hospital bed, bewildered. "Where am I?" I asked weakly. Talia entered the room with Raya, her expression full of concern. It turned out I needed to stay in the hospital for several days for further tests. What should I do? I fretted. "Let's discuss, Rogan, once you're discharged," Talia suggested gently. Raya then confessed that she had overheard Rogan's phone call, surprising me with her knowledge of the situation. As I prepared to leave the hospital, I couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension, worried that Talia might reprimand me for letting Raya in on the truth. The next day, I underwent various tests, which revealed that my poor health was due to cancer. Thankfully, it was still in the early stages, and there was hope for recovery through surgery. Although the surgery was successful, Returning to work immediately seemed out of the question. With no savings and medical bills mounting, I felt overwhelmed. During this difficult time, Talia and Ria became my pillars of support. When Ria explained the situation to Talia, she was even more outraged than I had expected. Talia tried to track down Rogan to make him repay the debt and cover the medical expenses, but his whereabouts remained unknown. What should we do if we can't find Rogan? I wondered aloud. Talia then suggested an idea. What about the car that's in your name? Rogan has it, right? Maybe we can try to get it back. Is that even possible? I asked, surprised. Talia explained further. I found out where Rogan is currently working. Surprisingly, he's at a different company inside the same building where I work. Although I usually work remotely, I've seen him there on occasion. With this information, we can make a plan. Then let's go to Rogan's workplace right away, I suggested, eager to confront him. But Talia advised against rushing into things. We need a solid plan, not just a spontaneous approach, she cautioned. Ria and I have an idea, she continued. That's right, a plan? Ria confirmed, exchanging a smile with Talia. I couldn't quite grasp the significance of their demeanor. As I watched them silently, Ria smiled reassuringly and said, Don't worry, everything's taken care of. What kind of plan have they concocted? They didn't provide details, but everything became clear a month later while I was at Talia's house. Suddenly, a call came in. Glancing at the caller ID, I saw it was from Rogan. Initially, I ignored it, but it kept ringing persistently. Something must have gone wrong. Summoning my courage, I answered, and Rogan's frantic voice pleaded, Please, help me. I'll explain later. Just come now. I'm in trouble, about to be arrested. He quickly shared his location and hung up. Talia and Ria, who had overheard the conversation, finally unveiled their plan. We reported the car as stolen. And it was Ria's idea? Talia explained, beaming with pride. Ria blushed and looked down, clearly grateful. I thanked them both profusely and rushed to where Rogan was waiting. The park he mentioned was surprisingly close to my home. Police officers were gathered around Rogan, questioning him. We hurried over to him. First, we explained the situation to the police officers and asked them to leave. Then, Rogan invited us into his car and began explaining what had happened. As I glanced inside the car, I noticed a confident-looking woman sitting boldly in the passenger seat, her legs crossed, staring at us with a cold gaze. Thanks for coming, but why did the police show up? Rogan asked, clearly perplexed. He had been surrounded and questioned by the police, yet he seemed unaware of their words. I was so shocked that I couldn't find the right words to respond. I reported the car as stolen, I finally said. After all, the car belongs to me. We're divorced, so there's no reason for you to be using my car. Reporting it stolen was the logical thing to do. You probably didn't expect to be accused of car theft. Ria chimed in, addressing Rogan, who appeared shaken. Dad, why did you leave us? Why won't you take responsibility for repaying the money? Explain yourself. Rogan sighed and looked at us with an exasperated expression, but he remained silent. If you refuse to speak, I'll have to involve the police. Using my name without permission is a crime, I warned him sternly. At this, Rogan began to speak hesitantly, bit by bit. He opened up about his mistress, Lily, who had recently started working at the same company as Rogan. Their relationship began at a company welcome party and quickly turned romantic. Shockingly, Rogan discovered about 3 months ago that Lily was pregnant, evident from her growing stomach. So you chose her over us and left? I questioned, my tone sharp. Talia chimed in, interrupting Rogan's attempt to explain. She criticized his past actions, including his irresponsible behavior toward the family, frequent job changes, and quick temper. Rogan, seemingly lost in thought or simply ignoring Talia, remained silent, while Lily's irritation was evident. She pressed him about the $200,000 debt, but he stayed silent. Then Lily dropped a bombshell. He borrowed money in his wife's name to buy me luxury items. I was lucky. A $200,000 debt for gifts to Lily. What extravagances had he bought her? It was surprising how easily Lily revealed this information, considering it could incriminate them both if they were conspiring. As I pondered this, Rhea asked Lily about her pregnancy. "When are you due?" Lily replied, "In about 3 months." But the timeline didn't add up. She claimed to have been pregnant for 3 months, yet she was due in the same amount of time. Something didn't quite make sense. Isn't the timing a bit off? Talia noticed the inconsistency and questioned Lily further. Is the baby really Rogan's? It seems strange for the due date to be in 3 months. Whose child is it? Talia's suspicions were clear. Though taken aback, Lily didn't seem inclined to hide anything. Actually, the child isn't Rogan's, she confessed. I thought about keeping it secret, but dealing with him further seemed like too much hassle, so I decided to come clean. Is that why you admitted to the debt as well? Talia pressed. Yeah, there's no point in sticking with Rogan anymore, Lily replied, her tone mocking. The atmosphere grew tense and uncomfortable. I wanted to leave immediately. Meanwhile, Rogan stared at Lily in disbelief. What are you saying? This has to be a joke, right? He exclaimed. Why would it be a joke? Lily retorted firmly. The tension escalated, making the air thick with unease. Talia took charge. Anyway, I'm calling the police, she declared. Rogan and Lily protested, but Talia reminded them that borrowing money in my name was a crime, as was using the car without permission, especially since Rogan and I were no longer together. She instructed me to make the call, and despite their pleas, I did. Soon, the sound of sirens filled the air. It was a relief to know that they would face the consequences of their actions. The issues regarding the debt and the car would finally be resolved. In the end, Rogan and Lily faced legal repercussions. While they avoided prison, they were held accountable for compensation, repaying the debt, and child support. Despite attempts to lessen their obligations through legal means, Rhea's secret recording served as damning evidence, leading to their requests being denied. Rita decided to record the conversation after being inspired by a scene from a TV show she watched with Talia. While I admired her quick thinking, I couldn't help but wonder about the content of the shows Talia exposed her to. Now Rhea and I reside with Talia without any commuting issues for Raya's school. As our previous residence was conveniently close, the car was returned safely, and it appears Rogan is somehow managing the debt. If Rogan hadn't made those regrettable decisions, he wouldn't be facing such hardships now. Throughout this ordeal, Talia and Rhea have been instrumental, and thanks to them, the situation is gradually resolving. I am determined to work hard for a peaceful life